Howdy folks, welcome to the Scannell Agenda. Today's date is April 21st, 2017. This is show number 63, entitled My Government Systems File. Now I have a file here, one of many. Probably I have about 250 categories that I work in. I don't know, this looks like about 500 pages or so. These are just tidbits that I write down of basic designs for little improvements to our government systems or a totally new government system, things like that. Now this is a file that I can't talk about. This is my military file, and I do work in some different areas that I can't talk about. I do work in something I call automated military presence. That's a system of, well, I don't want to talk about it. It's automated, it's military, and there's a presence. It's better than having 3 cops on the site. And we spend a lot of money on our police, and I don't like it. I don't like deadweight losses. When you can replace 3 cops with a machine, go for it. Go for it. All right, so let's just say a government system has a philosophy, like a town meeting has a philosophy. So I'll just open up to this. I haven't even sorted through this stuff that needs to be categorized. There's a lot in here. Let's go in here. Some of my latest work, my latest 1 year, let's say, might be this pile of papers here. So this one is entitled Parallel of Clubhouse and Town Meeting Governance. Okay, so what we're looking at, and this is also Clubhouse. It's a parallel. So you learn and you fit in. You do that in Clubhouse and you do it in town meeting. Town meeting form of government. The rules are adhered to and taken very seriously. Same in a clubhouse, same in town meeting. And when I say a clubhouse, I'm not talking about the clubhouse that well, they've been seriously degraded by Governor Deval Patrick, and Governor Baker has not seen fit to bring them back up to snuff. They cleaned house. They shifted the membership from, let's say, 2 or 3 new people a day coming in, and we'd work on them. You know, it was an assembly line of recovery from mental illness and problem people. And now we don't see anyone new. It's just all down to what I call residents, people, and maybe someone new here and there, but it's very much a degraded clubhouse, and it's not really the same. So when I'm saying clubhouse, I'm talking about the years when Heather Lowe was the director of Bay Bridge Clubhouse, when Bay Bridge was seen as one of the finest clubhouses in the world. And there are probably 200 plus clubhouses in the world. And it's a genre that can only grow if we recognize it as excellent and the real thing. Now, an agency clubhouse is for the agency, but a freestanding clubhouse with its own deed is for the members. Don't forget. An agency clubhouse is for the agency, okay? They pretty much do what they do for their own agency. But a clubhouse, like a town meeting, they're doing it for the town. So we have a lot of problems with the governance, and there's a lot of money wasted. A lot of money wasted. I don't know, maybe 60 or 80% wasted money by just not doing it right. Recognized rank in the organization. You do that in a clubhouse and in town meeting. So you have a ladder to go up in the clubhouse, just as you do in a town meeting. And I'm sorry I don't include Barnstable, town of Barnstable, with the town meeting form of government. I think Barnstable should go back to a town meeting style. Clubhouse and town meeting is honorable and inclusive. They've both got that going for them. Oh. Community registry. This one's about government systems, mainly medical, penal. At 11 years old, you wipe the record clean. STDs, crime, volunteer labor, disorders and disabilities, honesty and teamwork, streamline efficiency. These are talking points. It would be like a, let's say, a registry for the community based on volunteer labor, on crime, okay, a community registry based on STDs, and community registry would not necessarily be open. It might be something done on just the town nurse based level. As I have mentioned, maybe every client or clubhouse member basically should have a web page so that you're not jumping through hoops as a career for all these bureaucrats. We could eliminate about half of the bureaucrats if the clients, so-called, had a web page. So you want the information? There it is. There you go. There's my signature. Go get it. It's on the web page. Now, I don't have 60 or 80 pages to fill out. You know, that's all dead weight loss that we're looking at on a lot of these systems. Government can do it, but private enterprise couldn't do it. You couldn't survive. Giveaway perks as a tax. Fishery, free externalities, are these not taxes? Okay, here's something in the government systems genre, and in the tax genre, I have a category called tax. So it should be fisheries here too, in the category of fishery. So the question is, are these free externalities, in other words, the negative externality of ripping up the bottom, are these not taxes on everybody else? See, if I'm a fisheries manager and I say to you as a fisherman, feel free to rip up the kelp. You go ahead. You're the fisherman, and your grandfather and great-grandfather ripped up the kelp, so you can rip up the kelp for free, and you don't have to pay. Now, the kelp is a public resource, and it's tremendously valued as a public resource. But we have some weird things going on right now in our fisheries. And the weirdest thing is to allow these negative externalities to go on. So a negative externality can be just like a tax, and we should look at it as value on the table, negative and positive. That's basic to economics. Okay? Deadweight accountancy losses attributable to a French-style tax code. That's another area. Our tax codes are so cumbersome that, you know, corporations hire so many tax accountants and lawyers. These are all account for deadweight losses. I have a project in here on the tax level area that has to do with simplifying the number of words in the tax code on a 10% basis every year. Surely we can simplify by 10% and downsize the number of words in all of our tax codes, state, local, federal, and get it down to something manageable so that a corporation doesn't hire an inordinate number of pencil-pushing bureaucrats on a company level to deal with the government. So these are all the deadweight losses that drive me crazy. They say carried interest and other loopholes. You know, all this stuff is giveaways, and all the perks and the giveaways. Separation of powers. Okay, some of that I'll just pass over. Hard job workers first, 65 to 64. This is a government system based on also taxation. Years in doing grunt work. And the harder you work, and you die younger. And the white collar Deaths can wait 65 or 66. Is it fair? So here, I think what I'm doing here is drawing a distinction between hard job workers retire at age 64 instead of 65. In other words, push the retirement date back. A guy that's doing hard physical work, and if he's been doing it for years, at age 64, I'm saying that's the retirement age for him or her. Now, a job doing physical work, hard labor, that would be the start of something I've always wanted to do, which is to reduce the retirement age down a year, and then if you can stomach that, do it another year. I know that's not the thinking now, but I don't care. That's my thinking. So this one here is takes me about 3 or 4 minutes sometimes to do these. This one's about taxation and government systems. This one's called 246810 tax. It's about percentages of tax percentages for extravagant foods. Food is not taxed. This goes with the mega system, food, soil, and recycle system. And it's a way of putting a tax on things that, let's say, no tax on anything under $2 a pound. Anything $2 a pound to $4 a pound would be taxed at 2%. Anything up in the range of $4 to $6 per pound would be taxed at 4%. In other words, if you're ever going to have a food tax for this food, soil, and recycle system, which would be wise to tax food, you don't want to tax all food. You want to incentivize some foods with no tax or with a subsidy. And then $10 a pound and over would be a 10% tax. It jumps up to that. In this way, extravagance foods are taxed progressively. It's an income tax for food. Yes or no? I don't know. Healthy soil and food system, you're going to need money. You know. So, St. Jude Children's Hospital. Let's help with cancer. What's this? A government system, tax, recycle, medical farm. Let's help with cancer. Less chemicals in the soil. Would this help? Would healthy soil mean less cancer in children? If the answer is yes, then we have a moral justification for healthy soil, and we're against unhealthy soil. And so you have to define these things, and then you incentivize the healthy soil, and you penalize soil that's bad or unhealthy. It's just like fishing. And this gets into it. Why are the doctors quiet? Why aren't we for healthy soil? Don't we have any common sense? Because I think healthy soil is so important. I grew up with an organic garden as a kid, and boy, the food from that garden, really good stuff. Government system tax solar, 1.5, 6 to 12% net meter incentives. This is about the metering. Current under 1% of electricity in the USA is solar. And so going forward at 1% increase, this is about subsidies to the utilities and to the power producers, small-time producers usually, and USA manufacturing gear, more money, more subsidy for USA-made gear. And at 6% increased subsidy again, this is about a step level for increasing subsidies so that we can go green with net metering incentives. General revenue match states, it's about matching. Wind to hydrogen fuel backups, these things would be incentivized. In other words, you can incentivize particulars that you want to, let's say, target. You want to target a wind farm that is producing hydrogen that has fuel cells which are tied to the grid so that you can really launch a lot of electricity onto that grid in a matter of seconds. You want to incentivize that kind of thing. It's just a matter of saying, okay, what do we need? How are we going to get there? That's all. That's what a lot of this market quota system based stuff is all about. Finding what you need, what's good, finding what's bad, incentivize the good and penalize the bad, or not so much of a penalty, just a word to the wise is sufficient. Sometimes that's good enough too. Government systems here, more auxiliary, fire and police, please. Okay, this has to do with the Paris massacre of 11/13/15. This is when I was writing this, I guess. Mandated to carry badge and gun. So we need auxiliary fire and police. I remember I've told stories that I was on the fire department on Nantucket. Of course, on Nantucket you have to have more firemen because you're out there on an island. Cross-qualify fire and police, a badge and a gun and a medical bag. What's the point? You increase the numbers and you increase the spread of responders. Be there and be ready. Stop terrorism attempts. Stop the odd shooter run amok. So Johnny on the spot has a badge and a gun. That's what you want. It's for the USA, it's for France. And I've got a little star, which means another project relates to this, and that's high school automatic military presence. Where is there a crowd? Can we have auxiliary people there? In such a case, is there a premium? Now we're talking about being on location and crowd coverage. This is by the auxiliary police, not your paid, $40 an hour cop. But you look at any event, and they're thick with all these police officers. And believe me, I don't even know how much money this is costing. Believe me, I don't know. How much is it costing? It's ridiculous. It's a lot of money. So we're paying for this terrorism. And I don't like it. You don't like it. Government systems penal. They had him, but let him go. Because no good ID system. Paris massacre. Brother of attacker. Paris. Detained. Oh, I'm still on that little kick about a good identification system and how important they are. What's the point? We all trust each other. Point, we need a good identification system. It's okay, we like a messy house. It's chaos with not knowing your people in the country is just pseudo security, having a lot of police officers around. This explains my philosophy on my Scannell agenda with security systems. Crunch the numbers, increase security, that is cops standing by. Cops at the airport, what do? If you don't know your people, you can be a cop standing by. And, I could walk right past you if I were a terrorist or something like that, and you wouldn't know it. So we really need to know. Ping pong, for ping pong primary. Oh, this is about voting systems. It's about the clean vote system. And I do work on voting systems. And this is about New Hampshire having a nice but arbitrary primary that they have every 4 years there. Well, it should go between 52 states and the territories and the 8 largest states. I've got written here, I haven't visited this in a while. 8 largest states, first divided up as evenly as possible, the 8 largest states. So you have 4 quarters. Divide the country into the 8 largest states, and then, so you have 4 groups. And then you go from there, and you do the ping pong ball thing, which is It's basically all that is a fun way to do randomized selection of what you want. So you pick a ball, use the honored citizen to pick a ball. Someone from my clubhouse, maybe my wife, not me. So we have 4 primary scenarios that are available, say in 2020. We have the system ready and approved, or ABCD by state ping pong only. In other words, we don't need to go by New Hampshire. That's it. New Hampshire's it. But we should be selecting our primary presidential primaries in a methodical way, randomized way. And then probably, let's say, sometime 6 months before the election, bang, there you go. This is the schedule. These are the primary votes. It's become such that, gerrymandering is so important in certain areas, and politics should not be like witchcraft, and it is. It's terrible. It's there's a lot of culpability with it and a lot of malevolence with politics when it comes time to the voting systems that we have. And I want to get down to brass tacks and engineer the simplest voting systems. The clean vote system is the best, with ID systems that work. And we can do that and have fun. ID incentives. So if we need a new mandatory identification system for everybody, 1 year, 1, a free lunch, 2, a free breakfast, 3, a free box of Girl Scout cookies, 4, a cup of coffee. These are the early bird specials, to sign up and get your ID, get a little token. Like any business would do that. And then mandatory free ID for all. Before the storm hits and everybody signs up for an ID system, because if you haven't all your prints done, 5 minutes. If you haven't all your fingerprints done and your iris scan and blood, DNA, I'm talking about a full spectrum identification system taken from when you're born, and this will just eliminate a lot of police on the payroll. These things are to eliminate waste and payroll waste. We need the police, but we don't need to be running after how many fugitives do we have in the country that we're not getting after? These are criminals. Some of them are from foreign countries. I can't even drive for Uber because I didn't pass the test. And you've got probably most people that drive for Uber. They come in here into this country, no one knows who they are, and they sail right through, I'm sure. I can't even drive for Uber. So they're going to come get my car pretty soon because I can't drive for Uber. I can't pay for the car. Too bad. Well, that's security. That is not security. We need identification systems. Oh, boy. So every 5 years you do, your identification, and you do your count of your, baby's first ID I've got here. That's a spoof on Big Brother. And 1984 is showing up at the movies, not at the movies, at Cape Cod Community College. And I have a good friend that is in the play. It's George Orwell's 1984. And it's up right now. It's up now, today's date, at the Cape Cod Community College. I got to go see it. I read the book twice. I knew how important that work was. I was told by someone very smart how important it was to get it with that book. So although we need, I think, a good identification system, we don't need 1984 with George, Big Brother on our back, looking over our shoulder. We don't really need that. The identification systems will prevent that. There'll be less government workers around. We don't want to have excess government workers, do we? Because it's a deadweight economic loss if we do. Move on pay cut option, government system. If local voters had the authority to move on a lower performing teacher nicely. Okay, this is education. if people were free to be practical. No, that's not happening. But it's something to talk about. Taxpayers forced to pay through the nose, government unions, extortion, double dipping influences with government unions, that kind of thing. Of course, there's pros and cons to anything. Now, I forgot how much time I've got, but time is running out. And I think it's 2 minutes here. Now, there's a lot of work. This is about 500 pages. I'm just going to keep going with this government system file until I do about 5 or 6 shows on it, and then I'll move on. I want to do this whole file and get it done. Get to Work program. Here's a program. It's government system educational. It's for high school, going into community college system for credits, age 14 or 15, summer jobs with or without summer school credits. It's about incentivizing the kids to get college credits by rank, and it gets all into top, mid, bottom 1/3 scores. It's about funding the brighter kids, actually. But we can't forget kids that, all kids, you know, even disabled kids, or, you know, funding people wherever they fit in. And that's so important to do that. So you can't be a cold-blooded efficiency expert when you're doing all these social services systems that have a tie into government systems and education. You got to have a little bit of a heart to do this kind of work. So that's about it with the government services. This one's about steel production tax per ratio of steel to smoke. This is about pollution, and it's about the market quota system. It's about international aspects of getting steel dumped on the United States. And I'll talk about that. Maybe I'll pick up on this steel issue. Okay, that's the Scannell agenda. Thanks for watching.